Can you walk me through that thought process in that moment when either you or Gary come up with this like new revolutionary thing? And I think 99.9% of the people just go, whatever, like that's just crap. And most of the time it is. But then, like, how do you differentiate between, wow, this is something, or this is crap? Like, what
Yeah.
makes, like, what is different in your thought process? Like, walk me through there, because I think that's what really distinguishes you guys from like winning over and over again, and so many other people losing.
So I think I think that one is there is no value. There's no business or monetary value, at least directly correlated to being right when you say something's not going to work. So just because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what's the value? I mean, like, you know what? This is stupid. CryptoPunks don't make sense to me. And you just make this argument, and it's like, you know what? They stink. I can print it out. I can take a screenshot. Like, makes no sense to me. Yada yada yada. And let's say you're right. Congratulations, you made $0, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's first part. It's like, man, like the economic upside of being completely negative and a naysayer, of course you can save yourself money, right? But the
Mm-hmm.
way I look at it, when you're running the line of technological innovation, you do not need to go one for one, right? And so, if I was right, I'm making up numbers. These are not my actual numbers, but let's say I invested $50,000 into CryptoPunks, right? And I was wrong, which so far I'm not, but I could be. Hypothetically, it could fall apart, right? Let's say I was wrong and I lost 50 grand. Okay, I'm down 50 grand. Next thing comes up, I was lucky enough to be a pretty early investor in Uber, right? And I put a hypothetical $50,000 into Uber at the time that I did. Again, not the same numbers that I did. And that time I'm right. That's a 7-figure return. And so just because I was wrong when you're wrong on something, you're not wrong financially at the scale for how wrong you were. It's
Mm-hmm.
defined. You're wrong for $50,000. You're not wrong. I think if I lost based on how wrong I am, it would be a different story. If I'm like
Mm-hmm.
am I allowed to curse on this, by the way?
Dude, of course.
Okay. If I'm super fucking wrong, I don't lose $1 million. I just lose 50,000. It's capped. If I'm super fucking right, I can make millions. And so people are looking at it. It's like you're nobody's gonna bat 1,000. It's impossible to bet on innovation and technology and bat 1,000. Nobody's ever done it. The same way with baseball. You play baseball and you're a hitter and you're one of the greatest hitters of all time. Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, those guys batted 400, meaning they were right, or they executed perfectly 4 out of 10 times. Venture capital, you execute right 1 out of 10 times and you're a goat. And so I think that's something that people need to wrap their head around, is the upside of being right is so much bigger than the downside of being wrong. The downside's capped. That's a big deal. And then I think the other thing is, I'd be lying to you if every time I've seen something really innovative, I didn't have some sort of initial skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's a lot of strength in battling your own skepticism and looking for the upside and trying to see the future for how big it can really be. And so that's a big factor too. And a lot of times I test my my plans on normal people, my
Mm-hmm.
wife, my friends that don't dive into this world, my parents. Like, I remember when we decided to do Uber back in 2010, so many people were like, I'm not going to get into a stranger's car and drive with them. I'm like, but you already do. Like, you don't know the taxi driver when you grab a taxi. You just accept the fact that because it's a yellow car and it's got a light on top, that it's, regulated. The same thing can apply for Uber, if not better. Uber is tracking your whereabouts, has a profile on the user, does back, like, I don't know. I think that I just, you know, it's, and I guess the last thing I'll say is it's just a passion too. Like, I love it. Like, I love
Mm.
this NFT ride. These last 3 to 4 months have been some of the most fun I've had. It reminds me so much of the mid to late 2000s in terms of Web 2.0 and social
Really?
media, and oh, so much. And a big reason for that, probably the most fun part about this journey is, I've been very fortunate. I made a lot of friends along the way, but life happens, distance happens, pandemics happen. I'm getting texts from people that I haven't talked to in 5 or 6 years because,
Hmm.
I've had 3 kids. My wife has given birth to 3 kids in the last 4 years, and
Man,
I'm going.
congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a zoo. Thank you. I bet one of my kids makes a cameo at some point. I'm in my
That's
home office.
awesome.
Somehow
That's
it hasn't
awesome.
happened yet.
All
Um,
good.
and uh, and it's like, I've been in the sports business lately, and a lot of those friends of mine that are in the tech world don't really have that care or that affinity for sports. But gotten so many texts from people. I was texting with a friend last night, being like, "Man, this feels like 2008." And he's like, "Yeah, why do you say that?" I'm like, "Well, look at us right now. We talked a lot in 2008. We didn't talk so much from 2014 to 2020, right?" And so I think a lot of really smart people just see the upside in this thing the same way, iPhone apps and social media companies and things like that. It reminds me a lot in that way.
May I ask how old you are?
I am 34.
34. So like 2008, that's what? Like,
I'm in college.
yeah,
So
college times for you.
in 2008, I spent the summer in San Francisco and did an internship at a company called Revision 3, which was a sister company to a company called Dig. And Dig was one of the very early, Web 2.0 companies started by a guy named Kevin Rose. So yeah, I was out there and I couch surfed the whole summer. I stayed with like 8 or 9 different people and just went out every night and just met a ton of people, and it was awesome.